तो कल हमने पढ़ा था अबाउट टाइप ऑफ क्लाउड्स, राइट। तो जिसमें हमने पढ़ा था कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज अ सर्विस क्या होता है, देन प्लेटफॉर्म एज अ सर्विस, सॉफ्टवेयर एज अ सर्विस। ये तीन क्लाउड, ये जो तीन क्लाउड्स हैं वो ऑन बेसिस ऑफ कंप्यूटिंग मॉडल है, राइट। देन वी हैव ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट मॉडल. So on the basis of development model also we have three different clouds. One is public, the other is private, and the hybrid. So public, it's where the third party is involved, right? You give the complete access to a third party vendor and they manage the database for you, right? And you just have to use their services. Private cloud, where you yourselves create a data center for your organization and you manage it accordingly. So private cloud is also known as on-premises, right? Then we have hybrid. So in hybrid, few of the data is being managed by your organization, which you create an on-premise data centers, and few of the data it's being shared, handled by a third party, right? So it's a mixture of both on-premises and a third-party organization, right? Yeah. So these are the types of clouds just now we discussed. So today, before going to serverless computing, I want to take you for the subscription part, right? So because yesterday we were actually creating the subscription. I hope everybody has created the subscription. Yes, no.
Yes, Tanya.
Okay. So as everyone has created the subscription, let me first take you through that what subscription is and why the subscription is important. To start with the Azure cloud, right? So an Azure subscription is a logic container that used to province and manage Azure resources and services. Right? So subscription manages the resource groups, right? The accounts that we are going to create, right? And all the kind of services that we want in Azure. So to use that, we want a subscription. Right? For example, if you want to watch any movie or watch any series in Netflix, right? So we have to take the subscription of that. Then only we can utilize the or we can see the content that is available in Netflix, right? So in the same way, to use the services of Azure to create a resource group, to manage the accounts, to storage your database, to create a virtual machines, right? So for all these things, you have to create an Azure subscription. So the some facts about Azure subscription are: it is mandatory to have an Azure subscription if you want to use its resources. Right, as we discussed that if you want to see any movie or any web series in Netflix, then you have to have the subscription of that. Right, so same ways in the Azure. So if you want to use any services of Azure, you have to have the subscription of Azure. Then a subscription authorize and authenticates you to use the resources. So once you get the subscription, then only it authorize you to use all kind of resources that are available in Azure portal, right? An Azure subscription is linked to an Azure account, which in turn is an identity of Azure Active Directory. Okay, so what is an Azure Active Directory? So as we discussed yesterday, that if I want to give any access to a particular person, right, specific accesses I want to give, like I want to, I have a container or a data set, and I want read and write access to be granted to Jitin. Okay, and then I want only a read access to be given to Viplav, and a specific period of time read and write access to be given to Varun, right? So for all this, we have things called as active directories. So using Azure Active Directories, I can assign the different roles to different person or the accesses to different person, right? So this is how it works. A subscription is an agreement between the organization and the Microsoft to use its resources. So once I want to take the subscription, right? So subscription are also dependent on different basis. So I want to tell the Microsoft that, okay, these much subscriptions I require and this kind of subscription I want. And I want the subscription for which use also I have to let them know. Okay, because let's understand. Now, again, let us go with the example of Netflix only. Once you try to purchase Netflix, right? Not Netflix, Netflix has given, not Netflix now. Let's take the example of Amazon Prime. Okay. So when you go and get the subscription of Amazon Prime, it will give you the different subscription amount, right? That if you subscribe for example 299 per month, then you can utilize or you can log in only into one device, right? And that too not ad free. And if you go for 599, then you can log in two devices, and an ad free you can go for, right? And if you take for 999, then you can log in three different devices, and that too ad free, right? So these are the type of subscription. So as per your requirement, you have to go and purchase the subscription. So in the same way, for Azure, there are multiple subscriptions. And as per your need, as per your requirement, you have to go and subscribe to that particular subscription or purchase that subscription. Okay. There can be multiple subscriptions of Azure, but one is must, right? So you can purchase multiple subscription as per your requirement, right? But one is must. You have to have one. Otherwise, you cannot use Azure services. Okay. Are we clear till now?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's do what
Yes.
say. Okay. So how many types of subscription are basically there in Azure? So the first is pay as you go. So as we already discussed that what pay as you go is. So the services that you are going to use, right? You just have to pay for that. Nothing else. If you are using Azure account or you are using Azure data factory only and you are using data lake only. So you have to pay only for that much. Okay, for nothing else you have to pay. So what pay as you go says, you pay for the resources you use on a monthly basis. Right? So for if you go and subscribe for Netflix or any other thing, right? For there also you have to pay on a monthly basis. Right? Someone's mic is
चलो मिलते रहना
on. Kindly
मेरे
mute
को
yourself,
अब तो
please.
आना है 1 महीने में सिर्फ होना है हो जाओ आज 9 तारीख को
It's one from there. Yeah, fine. Okay. Suitable for business that needs flexible and scalability without upfront commitments, right? So this is basically used for companies. Some companies purchase it on a monthly basis. Some companies purchase it on a yearly basis also. So when it comes to big firms, they subscribe it on a yearly basis, right? But if you are a small startup and you don't know that how long are you going to use it, or the subscription that is there, right, which you have taken. So is that suitable for you or not, or you want to downgrade it or you want to upgrade it on a later on basis? So for that, for a test purpose, what they basically do, they take on a monthly basis. So month on month, they actually decide that, okay, the subscription I want and they pay for it, right? So this is how it goes. Then we have enterprise agreement designed for large organization with significant cloud usage, offer discounted rate and additional benefits based on a commitment to a minimum level of consumption. Okay. So as I said that if I want to subscribe it, I know that, okay, my team is going to work on Azure, right? And as of now, I want near up to, I say 10 license I want for this Azure subscription to be used. So what am I going to do? I am going to take an enterprise, I am going to create an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, right? And I'll say that, okay, these many people are going to actually work in your environment. and I want a organizational level agreement with you, right? So then they'll go, they'll design an agreement, they'll give you some extra benefits, right? Because so this is how it works, right? So if you take Azure subscription, they'll say that okay, for Azure it's a Microsoft thing, so you can take a subscription of Power BI also with it. We'll give you an offer of Power BI. Let's you go with Power BI, right? And if you are taking for 10 license, okay, your cloud limit is 1000 GB, but if you are taking it for 15 people, will give you a discount and will give you the excess of 2000 GB, right? So this is how they give discounts and create the agreements with the external benefits. Right? Then we have Microsoft Customer Agreement, provides a simple and flexible purchase experience for organization of all sizes, combines various Azure services into a single agreement, right? So for Azure Data Factory, you want a different agreement. For Azure Databricks, you want a different agreement. So likewise, if you have different agreements, they combine it in a single way and they'll give you the agreement for free, right? So this is how it does, and it is flexible for each and every organization. So my small organization says that, okay, we want own license for only 3 people, 3 license we want. And the big forum says that, okay, we license for more than 50 people. So this is how they go and create the agreement. Free account. So the account that we are using right now, right, that is a free account. So we are basically using a free account of Microsoft, or a trial account we are using. Right? Offers limited free services for a specific period, usually 12 months, and a small amount of credited to try out Azure services, ideally for new user exploring Azure, right? So the account that we have got a free account, right? So why we have got a free account? Because they want us to explore whatever the facilities they provide and what are the services they have and at what level it is useful for us, right? So for this, they basically give us the free account. Then we have sponsor and trial subscription. So the sponsor and trial subscription are basically at the education and non-profit level and sometimes for the promotional level, right? So if I launch something, if you have gone to any malls, right, you must have got some freebies over there, right? So if you go for purchasing a grocery, right, and the company has launched some new product of it, or you go to buy a cosmetic, like you go to Sugar Cosmetics store, right? So they have launched a new moisturizer. So what they're going to do is they are going to give it as a free, right? Freebie, as a freebie they are going to give you, and they'll say that okay, you can try a moisturizer and later if you want you can use it, right? So as a trial they are giving you something, right? So and sponsorships are, they actually get this sponsorship with the schools or the colleges, right? And they give them this sponsorship that okay, you send it to or you give it to top 20 students of yours to use and they can create a project in Azure, right? So once the person gets interested in Azure, later on they are going to purchase it. So this is how they'll give the trial subscription. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back in a minute. So yeah, so this is these are the types of subscription, right? And in organizations basically use enterprise level, but for practice we are going to go for free account, right? And if later on if you want, you can go for pay as you go. Okay.
Ani, one
So
question here.
yeah,
Like, is there any limitation on the storage? Means for on free accounts or
with storage the amount is means what you say. The
Would,
price is associated with the storage. So
Mhm.
as much as storage you use and the services you use, the price is associated with it. I'm going to show you the same thing only.
Okay.
Right? So if I'll open my account over here, right? They're not showing me right now. Let me refresh it. So can you see subscription free has remaining credits of 16,699?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what
Mm.
is this? They are giving me some amount of subscription. Either this is utilized first or my monthly subscription is expired. Right? If I am using it on a daily basis and I'm creating the pipelines, I'm creating a multiple resource group, I'm creating multiple storage accounts, right? So this credit is going to get consumed. Okay.
Okay.
And
So
once
so this amount is on a monthly basis, means it get recharged every monthly, or means for the
this is
for,
a free trial for which we are getting. Okay.
Mm.
After the free trial, this is going to get vanished. So as I say that either this get consumed first or my monthly trial period duration is expired. Post that I have to upgrade it to pay as you go subscription. With pay
Mhm.
as you go, it is going to give you the update that these are the credits, and if you create a storage account, this much amount is going to deduct. If you create a storage in storage account, if you save the data of this much GB, this amount is going to get deducted. So each and every description you are going to get like a voucher you are going to get, right? The price voucher. So
Mhm.
as per that, how much you are using, it is going to get you the details that okay, you are using this, you are using that. So there has to be a subscription with it. So, yeah. So you see the subscriptions.
Yes.
Yeah. So whatever the subscription you basically take, over here you are going to get the complete detail of your particular subscription. So if I'll go and click on free trial, see, like this, it is going to give me that this is my subscription ID, what is my subscription name, what is
Mhm.
my current billing period, right? What
Right.
all directories I got. So this is a directory that is being created to me, right? What is my role? So I'm an account admin. And what is the offer? So it's an free trial offer for me. Last billing amount is what? Invoice over time, it's what? Right? So it is going to give me cost by resources. See, so I've created a resource. So for which resource? Because for this resource, I have created some more things, right? So as per that, the amount is going to get increased.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So the same way it is going to tell you that, okay, you have consumed this much of your resource group. So this much amount is going to deduct for you, right? Whatever you're going to use, whatever the products you are going to use, it is going to give you as per the product wise. Okay, and you are going to get
Okay.
the cost analysis over here. That what is the cost, how the cost is being deducted, for which part the cost is more, for which the cost is less, how you are going to manage it. So everything you are going to get in cost analysis. See,
Hmm.
right?
Right. Okay.
So over here it says that which location I am on. So I'm on US East location. The resource group names, as per the resource group name, it is giving me the services, what all the services I have used. So as of now,
Mhm.
I've just created an Azure Data Factory and Azure Purview. So for
Mhm.
which what amount is being consumed, right? And if I want to create an alert that, okay, post my this amount is being used, please do let me know. So over here, I can go and I can create an alert of this also, right? So it'll let me know that, okay, the alert means whatever the alert I want, it'll alert me that, okay, your amount is getting deducted and this is and the time I want that, okay, from this day to this day, I want it, right? So I can
Okay.
create the alerts also.
Okay.
Okay.
Ah.
So in this way, you can see to it. And with subscription, with pricing, there are much more things that are associated, right? So first, let me go and tell you about resource groups, and once I'll go to creating our account, a storage account, that I'm going to do it today. With that, I'm going to explain you more about how the pricing points mainly differs. Okay, so let's go here again. Okay. So we have studied about this subscription. Yesterday, we have created the resource group, if everybody remembers that. Right? Or I'll show you again. So to create a resource, we went into the resource group, right? And this is the resource group that we have created yesterday. Everybody remembers this?
Yes.
No? This is a resource group which we have created. And this under this resource group, we have just created this one, right? So we can create as much as we want, whatever we want, we can go ahead and create. So if I'll go and see more, right? So these are the things I've already created. Okay. So let us now discuss what resource group is all about. So everybody is clear related to subscription, right? Yeah. So an Amazon Azure resource group is a logic container in Microsoft Azure that holds related resources for an Azure solution. It enables the organization to manage and develop of resource like virtual machine, databases, and storage account. Right. So in resource group, you can actually manage or develop, you can do the deployments of your data, you can manage your database, you can create the storage account, and all this are related to the cost. Okay. So resource groups make it easier to manage and monitor resources as a single unit, apply consistent access control, and manage lifecycle actions such as deployment and deletion. All resources within a group share the same life cycle and can be deployed, updated, or deleted together, providing a streamlined and organized approach to resource management. So how it works is, in a resource group, there are multiple things you can put on in a single resource group, right? You can work with Azure Data Factory, Databricks, you can create the storage account in it. All the things you have created, you can do in a single resource group. Okay. So, like in our phone, we have different options to keep our photos. Like if we download something, it gives you a folder of download. If you go and means you have in WhatsApp, so it's give you a folder of WhatsApp. If it's for your camera, it says it's of your camera, right? So you can either you can automatically go and delete the complete folder at one go. Either you can open it and delete the items you want to do one by one, or you can directly go and delete the folder itself, right? And that folder might consist some documents, some pictures, some videos, each and every kind of data it must have contained, right? So over here also in resource group, it contains your each and every services that is being provided by Azure. So you, for that, the resource group has to be associated with it. And basically, we create three kind of resource groups for a particular client. The first one is the development. So for development, we create a different resource group. For user acceptance testing, so when we are doing a testing, it's basically known as UAT. So for UAT, we create a different resource group, and for production, we create a different resource group. So basically, for a particular client, there are three different resource groups created. Okay. And this actually types which I said, development, user acceptance testing, and production, these are basically known as the environments, right? So there are three basic environments in a project. So for each and every environment, a different resource group is created. Fine. So now let us go for the practical part. They will do much more of the practical than of theoretical. So yesterday everyone got about resource group, how it is created, or you want me to create it again for you?
You may, because
Sorry?
if you can create it once again.
Okay, I'll create it again. Fine. So you have to go to over here, you have to write resource group. Right? So once you start with your, I'll just first delete this so I can create it again. So what you can, you have to do, firstly, you have to purchase a subscription. Once you purchase a subscription, you have to create a resource group associated with that subscription. Right? If you see over here, it says the name of my resource group. Then it says the subscription name that I have created and the location in which my subscription is or my resource group is created. So firstly, I have to go over here, I have to write as resource group. This resource group is going to get open. Then I have to click on create. Then over here, as my subscription is free trial, it goes and says free trial. Then I have to write a resource group. So I'll say test class June. Azure. Okay. Then I have to select the reason. You can either select whatever the reason you want. You can go ahead and select from here. But basically we select US EAT reason only. Okay. Then you have to go and create review and create. If it's a validation pass, you just have to go and create it. Now I'm not going to create it because I've already created 2 resource groups for me. So I'm not creating it, but just you have to go over here and you have to create. Click on create. Okay. So once the resource group is created, then you have to create a storage account. Okay. So you have to save your data. So to save your data, there has to be some folders. In that folders only you can save your files, right? You need some space where you can keep your stuff, right? So the same way we have storage account. So you have to go and click on storage account. There are multiple storage account. We are going to discuss it in our next class. Right now, I'm just showing you how to create a storage account. Today class will be a little shorter class, right? Because I have to go somewhere. Sorry for this, but today's class will be a shorter one. But I'll make sure in next 2 classes I'll cover up everything which is required. Right? So don't worry. Just I'll go and click on create. Right? So it says free trial. Now I have a resource group. Okay, there are 2 different resource group that I have. So I can select either one, whichever I want. So I'll go and create resource class June only. Then I have to give the name to my storage accounts. So I'll stay Azure class June storage account. Okay. Okay, it says it's only contain your lab. Azure class June essay. Okay. Now, again, the reason, if I want to change the reason, I can change it. Okay, whatever the performance I want, it says standard, recommended for most scenarios, general purpose V2 account, recommended for scenarios that require low latency. So we don't have to go for premium, we just have to go for standard. Premium will cost you more, standard will cost you less. Okay. Now, this is the
Ma'am,
part.
why do we keep East use region?
Sorry?
Why do
It's
we
a
normally keep
by
East region?
default reason, right? And it's a setup that we basically use in a standard reason that we use. But if you want, you can change as per the client requirement or as per the project, you can change it, right? But the standard is US EAT, means East US is the standard. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we comes to redundancy that we were discussing yesterday. So what redundancy basically means? So you can see there are 4 redundancy over here, right? The first one is local redundant storage. Low cost option with basic protection against server, rack and drive failure, recommended for non-critical scenarios. So what local redundant basically means? So you have a data in your phone, right? Or you say you have a Aadhaar card and you have your PAN card and you just have the hard copy of it. You don't have any soft copy. You have not saved it anywhere. You just have a hard copy of it. Now what you are doing, you have that hard copy in your wallet, right? So that is a local redundant part. You just have a single copy of your document. That is your Aadhaar and your PAN card, right? And that's in your wallet. So by chance, if you miss your wallet somewhere, right? If you are going out, you forget your wallet at home, or by chance your wallet gets stolen, right? So, or you lose somewhere your wallet. So what will happen? All your documents are going to go. You don't have any copy of that, nothing. You're left with nothing, right? Because you just have the single copy of that. So the same way, if the data is stored only on a local redundant, means if I'm in Gurgaon, I'll say that okay, only the data center which is available in Gurgaon, I want my data to be stored over there itself. No other thing. Okay. So there's a specific area. I'll say okay, I'm in sector 44 Gurgaon. And the data center which is available in sector 44 Gurgaon, I want my data to store only in that data center. So only to a specific region or a specific area, I say that, okay, only in a single part I want. So what will happen? If by chance that data center grid crashes due to any reason, due to hardware failure or due to software failure, or there's a fire in there, or flood, earthquake, any kind of failure is there, what will happen? My complete data will go. I don't have any backup, nothing I have. My complete data is going to get vanished, and I'm going to left with a zero data. Right? So it's a risky part that is involved. That's why we say that in local redundant, you should keep only the data which is non-sensitive. Yeah, or crucial data you can keep in a local redundant. So by chance, if you miss also that data, it is not going to hamper you a lot. Right? Am I clear with local redundant?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have geo-redundant storage, intermediate option with favor capabilities in a secondary region, recommended for backup scenarios, right? So now I say that, okay, whatever you have in Gurgaon or whatever you have in sector 44, how many data centers you have near up to, I'll say, I'll decide a region, okay? I'll say in New Gurgaon. In New Gurgaon, how many data centers you have? I want to store it in that many data centers. Means you have a hard copy in your wallet, but you do have a soft copy where in your phone also. Right? So by chance, if you miss your wallet also, right, you have a soft copy that is available in your phone. Yeah. Most of us basically use some documents or some drives we basically use to keep our data, right? Because when for specifically when we are driving, yeah, so we need a license, right? So we don't keep a license only in our wallet, but we do keep a soft copy also. By chance, if we forget our wallet at home, so what will happen? Police is going to catch us. Nothing, everything over. But if we have in our phone, we can show the soft copy, right? So in the same way, to keep a backup of the things, we go with the geo-redundant. So we define a geographical area that, okay, in this much area, whatever the data centers are available, I want my data to be saved in that particular data center. So that's the second part. Then we have zone redundant storage, intermediate option with protection against data centers level failures, recommended for high availability scenarios. Okay. So over here, what will happen? Now I'll say that, okay, whatever the data centers you have across Gurgaon, right? I want my data to be stored in all that data centers for a backup. So now you have the hard copy of your Aadhaar and your PAN in your wallet. You have a soft copy in your phone. A small soft copy you must have shared with your family members in a WhatsApp. So you have in a kind of photo. Plus you have saved it in a drive. Okay, your Gmail drive or any kind of drive you have saved it in that also. Right? So what you have done, you have created a 2 backup of your particular data. Right? So your data, it's in the location A, B, and C. Right? So what will happen? If A get crashes, you have the data in B and C. If B get crashes, you have a data in A and C. Right? So like this, you are going to save your data in multiple regions. The last which we have is geo-zonal redundant storage. So when we have a large amount of data and a very sensitive data, then we say that, okay, now save my data in an NCR region. And this is basically used for the critical data that we want. Like if we are managing the data of hospital, right? Right now I'll say Manipal Hospital or Apollo Hospital is my client. And I'm actually saving the data of Apollo Hospital. So in complete NCR, there must be around 10 Apollo hospitals and their data is very sensitive. Right? So for example, they are saving the data of their patients with complete their medical history, their reports, everything they are saving in my cloud. So that is very critical data which I have to manage. So to save that data, I am going to choose a geo-zonal redundant. Right? I'm not going to take a risk for that because it's a very, very highly critical data. Okay. So
Okay.
now you say, for example, for example, Aadhaar and PAN only, right? So these are the 2 documents that are very, very essential for each and everyone. Everywhere it is being utilized. Either you go and register yourself, if you open a new bank account, you want any kind of services you want to avail, right? You are going and checking into a hotel, you want to get your license done, anywhere you want to go, Aadhaar and PAN are the 2 mandatory identity cards you should carry with yourself, especially Aadhaar, right? So now what you are going to do is you are going to send it to your family members so they can save it on their phones. You are going to save it in your phone. You are going to get a what you can say hard copy in your wallet. You are saving it in your drive, right? Then you are saving it in your laptop. It's everywhere the important documents which you find that no, these are the crucial documents. And if they get missed, like your degrees also, right? Your degree is also your crucial document, right? And if you miss your degree, then again you have to go and do the complete process and this and that. So it's better to keep it safe on a different platform or different storage accounts, right? So in the same way that is done. And yes, with it, the cost is being applied. Why? Because the same data you are actually storing into a multiple levels, right? So when I have to store the data in multiple ways, I have to bear a cost of this. True? In your
Ma'am,
wallet, it
I
gets
have a
some.
question.
Mhm.
So these are the datas which you discussed about like Manipal Hospital and all Apollo
Mhm.
Hospital. So they are private enterprises. So for government enterprises, for example, NCRB data or Aadhaar card and passport information, these are also get stored in GZRS.
Sorry.
For example, NCRB data, you can
Uh-huh.
see your passport information
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the citizens. So
Mm-hmm.
they are also too stored in, GeoZone redundant
Yes,
storage.
yes, right.
Okay.
Because what will happen if you go in, if I take the example of Aadhaar, right? I'm a resident of, I'll say, Chandigarh. Okay. Now I'm going to Mumbai. Correct? In Mumbai, I went to Mumbai. Now I'm started working in Mumbai and now I want to open my account in Mumbai. So if I'll go to any bank over there, they are first going to take a thumb of mine to verify my Aadhaar number. Right? So in there, they have to get the data. Right? And basically in GeoZone redundant, the data we store in multiple locations, it's not only for the cruciality or for the security, but also for the usage part. How the usage is aligned with it. If I'll say I'm sitting in Bangalore, okay, and my client is of Gurgaon, right? And the data centers they have only in Gurgaon and not in complete India region. So now if I have to fetch any data, I have to tell their network to provide me the data. It is time consuming thing. Right? I have to wait for their, first I have to go, I have to connect with their zone, then I have to connect with their networks, then I can get the data. Right? But if the data is present somewhere near my server, okay, I can get that data in a very shorter period of time. So my work will be done in a shorter span of time and in a very effective way. Right? So for the work efficiency also, we select the reasons. Fine. Yes, the cost is being included with each and everything, but most of the clients which you are going to handle, because the clients that you are going to handle somewhere, they are going to have from US, UK clients mostly, the companies have. Right, so they basically prefer it on a zonal redundant, right? Because they are going to save it into the multiple cloud levels. They are going to save it into a cloud of India. If they are sitting in London, they are going to save in London part. If they have a third party vendor assigned with them in I'll say Canada, so they have one center in Canada. So to get it access in a very easy way and to monitor the things in a very secured way. Right? So in this thing, it has been useful. So for practice, please go only for local redundant storage, right? And once you go in the organization, then you have to. So mostly this resource group and this redundancy, it's been created by the IT team or your project's head. But sometimes you have to create, and for this, you have to convince your clients also, right? Because if it's a new client, your client is going to say ki, I want to reduce my or right now you have a client, okay, that client is using GeoZonal redundant storage, but now they are finding that it is a very costly thing for them and they want some cost effective part. So now you have to approach them that, okay, we understand that in GeoZonal redundant, your cost is so much high because of this points. Now, if you want to reduce it, we can go for this particular, we can either go for a zonal or whatever suits you. You can see that, okay, what kind of data they basically save and what is the flow of their data, what is mainly the storage of their data, what is the cruciality of their data. Everything you can analyze, you can calculate, and as per that, you can suggest them to change their redundancy. Right? So this is one of the question that is being asked during the interviews, right? That if you go with this, what means, is it more cost effective or this is more cost effective, and which one you should go for? Right? So always you should go for a GeoZonal redundant for sure, but because it is more secured. But if cost is the matter and you have to manage the cost, that is a for client secure, more than security, cost is the factor that they want to manage. So in that scenarios, yes, you can go for next redundancies. So you can explain the interviewer in such a way, and also you can explain the client in such a way, right? Because we used to interact with the clients and sometimes we have to explain them. Okay? Yes?
Yes.
And why we also take zonal, it's like sometimes we have to transfer that data from an on-premise to our Azure cloud. Right? They are using SSMS they have, or the Oracle they are using, right? Oracle DB they are using, or some kind of storage they have in their systems, and we want to take the data from their premises to the Azure. Okay. So in this, for this also, we basically try to go with the geozonal redundant. So it will be a very easy part for us to actually transfer their data into our clouds and to manage it. Right? But as I said that yes, multiple things have been associated with it. So once we go in depth in the, once we create a project, so you have to create the project with us. In that, we are going to select each and everything. We are actually going to create a project as per the client level. What client basically asks. Somebody sent some message. Yes, it is. Yes, every resource group must have a storage account, right? Because you want some storage to store your data, na? Where you are going to store your data, right? If I take it in a layman language, you have clothes with you. So to keep that clothes, you need something, right? You have a house, you have clothes, right? So house is your resource group and clothes are your data, right? So you need something in your resource group to keep your data, right? So in your house,
Right.
you need a almirah to put your clothes in it,
Right.
right? So the same way, resource group, it's your house, clothes is your data, and almirah is your storage account, right? Got my point?
Got it.
Okay. So we'll create next advance. Okay, we are going to allow all this. Yeah. Now, can you see here it says enable hierarchical namespace? Yes. It says hierarchical
Yes.
namespace complement by data lake storage Gen 2 endpoint enables file and directories semantic accelerated big data analysis workload and enables access control list. Okay, so we have to enable this. Now let us understand what is ADLS. So in storage account, we have different type of storages, storage account, right? But I'm going to tell you about two. And then we can discuss the other in later on parts. This is also known as ADLS Gen 2. Okay. So what is blob storage? Blob storage is also a storage account. Okay, this is also a storage account in which we can store the data, but only under one container. Okay. So now let's assume for blob storage, you have an almirah. Okay, almirah is your storage account. You have an almirah. But in almirah, there are no racks. Okay. So now what you are going to do? You want to keep your shirts, you want to keep your t-shirts, you want to keep your trousers, your pants, right? So now everything you have to keep on one space. Okay, you just have to open your Almira and you have to put it like that because there's no racks divided in it where you can divide it in a particular format. Okay, so that is what blob storage is. So blob storage does not form an hierarchical form, right? And this storage is also very limited. Okay, so to overcome this, we now Azure then launched as Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Okay, why it is called as Gen 2? Because it's of generation 2. Over here, you can follow a hierarchy. Okay, a hierarchy can be followed. So you have a container. So first thing I'll say, in this first you have a resource group. Under this resource group, you have storage account. In this storage account, you create a container. In the container, you create folder. And within this folder, you can create files. Okay. So this is the flow of Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Right? Now you say you have a house. You have Almira. Okay. In that Almira, there are different racks created. Okay. And now in that different racks also, there are some boxes created. So you have a different box for, I'll say you have 3 layers. Okay. Three layers are there for in your Almira. And in each layer, different boxes are created. So one box is created to keep your shirts, one box is created to keep your t-shirt, the other box is created to keep your socks and your stuff. The drawer is there to keep your documents, right? So it's like a storage account. In storage account, there's a container. In container, there's a folder and there's a file. Okay, and the file contains your data. File contains your data. Okay. So in boxes, you have kept your clothes. Clothes is your data. Okay. The racks is your file, I can say, file and folder. Then the rack, the partition which is there, that is your container. Okay. And your storage account is your Almira and your resource group is your house. So with a very layman language, you can understand it. Why I'm actually telling each and everything in such layman language, because if you go to give any interview, right? First time for sure everybody get nervous. But if you remember what I have taught you, then you can explain it in a very easier manner in your own words. Right? That's why I'm using such layman language and the the things that we are using on a day-to-day basis. So you can relate it and you can remember it. Okay? Got my point?
Yes, yes.
So to save our data in a hierarchical level, we have to enable this hierarchical namespace. Okay? And in ADLS Gen 2, you can store any kind of data. You can store a CSV file, you can store PDF, any sort of data can be stored. Any sort of data like CSV file, then you can say PDF, JPG, PNG, like your MP4. So each and every kind of files can be stored in ADLS Gen 2. Okay, some live streaming data might be coming, right? So each and everything can be stored. Okay. So when we are doing the project, we'll explain you that in brief. But sometimes it asks that what data you basically handle. Were you handling the data in batches or a live stream data? Okay, this question also arises. Okay. So these two questions arises. What is batch data? So batch data basically means you collect the data of I say a week complete data you collect, okay, and then you process it on a weekend, right? Or I'll say from Monday to Thursday, the data gets collected, and on Friday you run that data. Okay, so a time duration batch is created and it gets run on a particular day. So that is batch processing. What is live streaming? It's every time the data is coming, it is going on and on and on. Every time it's getting updated on a lively basis. Fine? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you take an example of any site, like if I take an example of Book My Show. So each one of us have booked the movie tickets from Book My Show, right? So it goes on live streaming updation of data. Because now I'm trying to book the ticket, I missed it by chance, and somebody else have booked it. So on an immediate basis, it's going to show me that this ticket is booked. Right? So on an immediate basis, it is updated. Right? So this is the live streaming. And if it takes time, that okay, after 2 hours or 3 hours, or if I'll say after a day or two, it is updating, that is just known as batch processing of data. Fine. So how we use a batch data and how we go with the live data, that also we are going to explain you in brief. So because of all this, we will go for ADLS Gen 2. Fine. And so now let us see how the container is created. First, I'll take you with the practical and then a little bit of theoretical. So I'll go as a next network, nothing we have to do over here. We have already given the abilities to everything. We'll go and we'll say, okay. So now you can see over here, it says days to return deleted blogs. Okay. So what will happen is sometimes by mistake, I have deleted a blog or I have deleted a container. Okay. Days to retain deleted container, right? So what I have done, I have created a resource group, I have created a storage account, and in that I have created a container. But by mistake, that container it's been deleted by me. Okay, there were two containers by the same name created by mistake. Okay, and now I wanted to delete the empty one, but by chance I have deleted the container that contains the data. Okay, so if I enable it over here, if I disable it, then I will not be able to retain my container. But if I'll enable this and I'll put the days over here, by default it takes 7 days, but I can increase or decrease it as per my requirement, right? I can say that, okay, if it is enabled, then I can retain the container which I have deleted. Okay, so make sure that you enable this. But this is really very helpful. Otherwise, again, you have to do the complete process and sometimes the data also gets lost. Right? So for a data security purpose also, it is very important to enable your container deletion. Okay, or to retain this option to retain your container. Okay. So we'll say next. Nothing needs to be done over here. We'll go next text. Tags, as I said, that as per requirement, you have to create the tags. So as per your client, you can go and create the tags over here, right? I'll just go on next. Okay, everything is there. I'll say it's getting reviewed. Okay. So validation is done. Now I'll go and do the creation. So it is still in the deployment. Now it is created. I'll go to the source. Yeah. So now this is created. Now you can see data lake storage, right? File services, queue services, and table services. So I'm going to explain you this also in brief. Don't worry. Right now I'm going to take you with data lake storage. So I'll go over here. Firstly, you have to create a container. So can you see this? It says container. So I'll create the container. So container name depends. So I'll say, okay, I want to create the same name I should go for. Okay, I'll just do a container. I'll say. For practice, I'll recommend you to go with such things only. It will very easy to actually remember, right? Go and create it. So now my container is created. And that this container, now I'm going to create files and my folders. Okay. I can upload it. I can add a directory. If I want to add something, I can add it from here. I can give the directory name. Let me give the directory name like this. Fine, I have created a directory and I'll save it. Right, so this directory is being created. Now I'll open this directory. Okay. And in this directory, now I can go and I can upload a file. Whatever the file I want to upload, I can go over here and I can upload it. Browse for file, I can go and I can upload whatever the file I want. Right now, I don't have a file. I have to search it for. Okay, I have sample database. Table file is not created for me. No problem. I'll create some sample file for everyone and then I'll upload it over here in the next class. Okay. So, but still you can upload whatever you want to upload. Let me upload this only for you. Let's see how it goes. I'll say upload. Oh, it is not showing me, but it should show. Let me upload it over here once again. Okay, can you see this? Sample database. So now I can go inside this and I can see whatever the data I have. Okay, I can even delete it. I can even use it also. Fine. Yes. So inside a container, I can create folder and inside a folder, I can create multiple files. These I can do. And by chance, if I'll delete this, I'll go here and I'll say delete. Okay, I'll go to container only. I'll delete a container itself. So this is my container. I'll go and I'll delete it. I'll say delete. Okay, so I've deleted it. Confirm delete. You can see it is deleted. Fine. I can click on show deleted container. This is deleted. Now I can click on this I can do as undeleted. Okay, I'll click on this. Save. See. Some error, I don't know why. Okay, now it's successfully done. See, now you can see it's undeleted. So how it got undeleted? Because we have enabled it. When we were creating our storage account, right, we have enabled that the container can be retained. Remember? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So in this way, as per the requirements in the container, the folders and files are basically created. Okay, so how it basically goes when we receive the data. When we receive the data, right? We first create a container. Okay. Second, we create folder. Okay. So this folder is basically known as raw folder, raw data folder for first time. In this raw data, the files are created. So as I told you earlier that we do some validation checks, right? So this is a raw data. So in this raw data, we basically do some validation check. So if the checks are accepted, so there are two basic files. The first file is accept, and the second file that we create, reject. Okay. So for this raw data, the data which is there in this raw folder, we run a validation check in that. If that validation check is done, so we write some query or some code for that, that if this data is clear, the validation gets accepted. So the data which is there will move into the accepted file. Otherwise, it will go to the rejected file. Okay. So this is the first level that we create. We create multiple folders, multiple files, multiple containers. As I said, 3 resource group we basically create. So multiple things we have to do, but this is a short brief that how we actually go with folders, files, and containers. Okay, so like this, for each and every level, we have to create a folder, a file. Okay. So for this reason only, we go and use ADLS Gen 2 or Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Right?
Right.
So I guess we can wind up today's class here itself. In next class, I'm going to teach you about the other storage account that we have just seen. Right? One more thing. So we have this file share, queue, and table share that I'm going to also explain you. Okay. Then this access keys. Yesterday I have told you about the keywords. Right? That we basically keep the secret keys over here. Yeah. So now you can see there are two keys. Basically, you can see key 1 and key 2. Right?
Right.
So is both keys are important? Do we have to create both the keys? Both keys are useful. What do you think of? Anyone? What do you mean by key 1 and key 2? Why there are two different keys created or two different secrets created? Anyone
If
can tell
someone
any rough answer.
if someone lost with the first key, then it can be
Correct.
used.
Correct. So what happens is not a loss. Yeah, loss is also one of the things. So right now I'm working in an organization, I am admin, right? And this data is given to multiple people, right? Now I find that the key one is getting corrupted. Okay, and on an immediate basis, I have to terminate my key one, right? So what I'll do, if I terminate my key one, then all the access that is being provided to people are going to stop. So I don't want the time to get or the work to get hampered. In this, that's why we create two different keys, key one and key two. So key one it's used in a primary basis, but on an immediate basis or a secondary basis, key two is used. The same way we have two different locks in our phone, right? We have a face lock and or a fingerprints biometric lock one we have, and the other is either a packet pattern or a number lock we keep, right? So sometimes like biometry, we have an eye retina, our face or a thumb or a fingerprint, anything can be there, right? So by chance fingerprint of my face scan is not working. In that, if it's not working and if I don't have a backup, then I won't be able to unlock my phone. Correct? So, but if I have a pattern lock or a number lock as a backup with that, two different locks if I have, then okay, if my biometric is not working, I can go ahead and unlock my phone with the alternative lock unlocking option. So for the same way, we have two different keys associated, key one and key two. Fine. So yesterday I was talking about, today also I talked about SAS tokens, right? So what SAS token is? SAS token is shared access signature tokens basically. Okay, so once you open this, you can find it over here. Allow services, whatever the services I want. I want only blob services to be given. I want, okay, allow resource type. I want only services. I want only to a specific container or a specific object. I can do that. Then what permissions I want to give that person, if that I want to give only read, only write, delete, list anything, add anything, create, update, whatever I want. If I want that, okay, I want only read. So I can disable all this and I can give the access. But and delete, I don't want. I'll remove all this. If I want only read and write, I'll go and do this. Okay? Now, whatever I want, I can do that. Signing case key one. I can say either key one or key two here. Can you see? I am giving that person the access of only one key. But in the time of backup, I can give that person the access of other key as well. So
Okay.
now we have start and expiry date and time. So as I said that if I want to give the person access on a specific period, need a specific period access I want to give that person. So using this SAS token, that is shared access signature, I can do that. Okay, so I just have to put a start date and time, and I want to put a end date and time, and if that person is from and the time zone I want to select. So I'll select a time zone and I'll give it to that. Fine. So from here also I can give the shared access tokens to everyone.
Tani, one question here.
Huh.
We are providing the access on the IP addresses.
So allow IP address, it's not, we can give only a specific IP address, right? If we want to, that okay, only a restriction to IP address also I want. But right now I'm not putting any IP address over here, so that will not allow each and every IP address, right? Sometimes if it says that your IP address is blocked, then we can go to firewalls and we can enable that. That can also be done, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes if you are using something, it says that your IP address doesn't support it. So at that time, you can tell your admin that your IP address is not supportive. They can go and enable it in the firewall system. Okay, we have some firewalls over here. From here, they can enable your IP address. Okay,
Okay.
so all this can be done. Fine. Any other doubts anyone have, or we can wind up for today? I can wind up for today.
Yes, we can. सबसे पूछ लो.